Is GST registration mandatory for startups? It's a question that's likely crossed your mind if you're in the early stages of setting up a business. What exactly is GST registration? Simply put, it's a tax registration that's required for all businesses in certain countries. It's an essential part of your business framework, ensuring your company's compliance with tax laws and regulations. But is it mandatory for startups? That's what we're here to unravel. Now that we know what GST registration is, let's dive into whether it's mandatory for startups. You may be wondering, is GST registration really necessary for my startup? Well, the answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. The necessity for a startup to register for GST hinges on the annual turnover of the business. If your startup's annual turnover exceeds 20 lakh rupees, registration becomes mandatory. For northeastern states and hill states, this limit is 10 lakh rupees. But what if your startup falls below these thresholds? You might think you're off the hook, but hold your horses. Even if GST registration isn't compulsory for your startup, it does come with a fair share of perks that could benefit your business. One of the key advantages of GST registration is the ability to claim input tax credit. This means that you can deduct the GST you've paid on your business purchases from your GST liability, a benefit that can significantly lower your tax burden. Moreover, registering for GST enhances the credibility of your startup. It signals to your clients and investors that you are a serious player in your field, standing in compliance with the government's tax regulations. This can have a positive impact on your business relationships and help you stand out in a competitive market. So while it might not be mandatory for every startup, there are certainly advantages to registering for GST. Let's recap what we've learned about GST registration for startups. While it's not obligatory for every startup out there, it's important to remember that GST registration can offer a multitude of advantages. It can boost your startup's credibility and make it more appealing to potential investors. Plus, it allows you to claim input tax credit, which can significantly reduce your overall tax liability. Moreover, if your startup is engaged in interstate sales, GST registration becomes mandatory. Not to forget, businesses with an annual turnover above 40 lakh rupees are also required to register for GST. So while GST registration might seem like an additional task in your startup journey, it can actually be a strategic move to facilitate growth and expand opportunities. Remember, every startup is unique, and so are its tax needs. Consult with a tax professional to understand what's best for your business.